Hello, hello. I am so excited to jump in and walk you through, on a very basic level, how to set up an AI agent in Gumloop. But before we jump in, what is an AI agent? Well, there's a complicated version and a simple version. And because I have a non technical background, I'll give you the simple version. Think of it like a really smart new hire on your team. In order for that new hire to be successful, you need to give it instructions on how you operate and also access to systems, right? So that the work gets done. So, an agent is like a chatbot that you give instructions and access to systems. So, again, it gets more complicated than that, but your girl does not have a technical background, so we're keeping it simple. The platform that we're using is one that is super helpful for those who are non technical. I'm going to walk you through Gumloop, my favorite platform for building AI agents. You can learn more about Gumloop by clicking the link in the description. When you log into it for the very first time, create your first agent. If you click on that, you'll see a chat box, which is in the bottom of your screen. I'm kind of hovering over it now. And also, you'll see something like this at the top right hand corner of my screen. I see the word share with two arrows facing the share. If I click on that, it expands. There are two words at the top, agent and settings. And in the far right, a black box that says save. Now, when you're setting your agent up for the first time, you can also see a button that says start new agent or build new agent. And if you click on the arrow, there's a drop down box that may say start a workflow. Don't start with the workflow, just start with the agent for the first time. Once you get to this screen, start building agent settings. This is where I give my agent a name. So for the purpose of today, I'm going to do something general. We're just going to have Jacqueline's meeting prep agent, okay? If you think of any repetitive tasks that you have, that's a good place to start brainstorming to think, this may be a good spot to start with an agent. So I give my agent a name, simply typing into the box so that it's easily identifiable. Okay. In terms of description, I'm going to call my agent meeting prep agent. Now, typically, when I'm prepping for meetings, and you may do the same, you have a particular way in which you like to prep. So, you're going to train your agent to help you prepare for meetings the way you naturally would. Once you give your agent a short description, don't overthink this part. Hit the save button. On my screen, it is in the top right corner. There's a black button. Once the Gumloop agent saves it, it typically grays out the area, okay? So it doesn't jump screens. Once you see that the save is grayed out, go ahead and slide over to the word agent. This is where it gets really fun and exciting. So if you're looking at my screen, I'm mousing under the word agent next to settings. When I click on the word agent, it now turns black from gray. And where previously the word setting was black, that's now gray. Got it? Are you with me? If you need to pause the video so you can catch up, go ahead and hit a quick pause. Delicious. I love coffee. All right, now let's keep it going. You'll see something that says Agent Preferences. This is a drop down where you can select various models to operate your agent on. So, again, I have a non technical background, so I'm going to keep it simple for you. The models from the large labs like Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, Moonshot, etc., those models are trained on large data sets because they're called large language models, right? Get it? Ha ha ha. All right. So these data sets, they are large pattern recognition systems on a basic level. So each model, you may have preferences for one or another. Generally speaking, they can do similar tasks, but certain models are trained on different data, which makes them better at completing tasks. If you want a deep dive of models, You can find the link in the bio. There's resources that I personally use as a non technical person to bring me up to speed. I typically build my agents for the first time using Claude. I will typically go for Anthropic Sonnet 5 or 4.6, but today I'm going to switch it up. Create an agent using the Moonshot Kimi K3 model. Again, find the link below to learn more about different models. This is a meeting prep agent. I need to give this agent instructions. I want you to remember something that I said a few moments ago and come back to this every time you think about building a new agent. In order for this agent to be successful, think of it as a really smart new hire that you're onboarding on your team. In order for that person to be successful, they need proper instructions and access to systems. So this is where we're going to start. Under the agent preferences box, there is another box that says add instructions for agent. When you click into this box, it will expand. And this is where you want to get a bit personal. Tell your agent, hey, when I prep for meetings, I like to know who I'm meeting, topic, their company, their bio, etc. If it's a follow-up meeting, do we have any action items? Let's see here. Action items or new topics to discuss. Okay. Keep it simple first go round. We're going to refine this. But think about the way you typically prep for a meeting and take a screenshot here if you need like a starter. Hit the save button. Remember, inside of Gumloop, you'll notice that once you hit the save button, will then come up next to AI instructions. On the left-hand side of this box, there is a word titled back with an arrow. If we select that, it brings us back to the screen. I want to call attention to this blue toggle button, allow self updates. One of my favorite features in Gumloop for building AI agents. It enables the agent to update its own configuration and instructions. Remember, I said we're going to keep this simple. We can update it later. This button will allow it to update later, and I'll explain why in just a few moments. Beneath that, there is something called triggers. Now, I get really excited when I talk about triggers because it is one of the cool features of this technology of AI agents. A trigger, the simple version is like it's an alarm clock. It tells the agent when to wake up and when to do work. Now, if we click on the box, the plus icon with the word add, it gives us four options, a drop down. The first one says create with AI. The second says app trigger. Third, scheduled trigger. And the fourth option is one time trigger. So again, the trigger we can think of as an alarm clock. It tells the agent when to wake up and when to get some work done. If we're not sure of when we want this agent to work, if we were to select the first option, it would bring us into this chat section and the agent would start asking us questions to help set up a trigger. If we wanted the agent to run when an event occurs in another app, for instance, if we receive a Slack message that says, new person booked a meeting on your calendar, if that message came through Slack or Google Calendar or whatever calendar system you use, your agent could prep you for a meeting when a new event is added to the calendar. The third option, which is my preference for a meeting prep agent, is a scheduled trigger, and I'll tell you why in a second. And the fourth would be a one-time trigger. Because this is a meeting prep agent and you typically have more than one meeting over the course of your career, we're going to skip that one for now. We're going to select the third option, scheduled trigger. So what we typically see when we hit this window is that it will show us the schedule trigger, tells the agent when to wake up. We have reoccurring and one time. Again, we're typically having more than one meeting in our career. So guess what? We're going to need to run this on a reoccurring basis. I'll run my meeting prep agent Sunday night through Thursday night around 7 p.m. because I like to prep for my day the night before. Come to schedule, and I'll tell my agent, run Sunday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Once I put that in, one of the features that they built this platform for non-technical folks, so they put in some safeguards to make sure that we're setting the agent up in the best way for it to work efficiently. So once we put in a general text here, you see how rough that is. We'll come over to the generate word box and click that button. What this does is formats a way that the agent needs to see it to run effectively. We have to also give this trigger a name. So meeting prep. And I'm going to keep it simple. And for the prompt, you run every Sunday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Now, listen, why do I do Sunday through Thursday, 7 p.m.? One, I like to prep the night before, but I typically don't take meetings on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm going to be responsible with my token usage and not max out tokens and have the agent working unnecessarily. So I set it to work the days that I work, okay? Sunday through Thursday. So I can prep for my Monday meetings on Sunday night. And then Friday night and Saturday night, my agent is not running. It's not using any credits for tokens. Once I give the instructions, I'll come down to the box at the bottom. It's black with white words. It says create trigger. We have to select that box. It will think and it moves us back to the screen. Voila. Now we have the alarm clock set up, aka the trigger for the Gumloop agent to be able to run. Again, I cannot emphasize this part enough. We have to think of our agent like a really smart team member. In order for it to be successful, it needs proper instructions and access to the right systems. Here comes a very exciting part. I get so excited. I'm trying to calm myself down. Woosah. Okay, connectors are the sauce that takes your agent from a chat bot that you're using, and the chat bot says, hey, you should go do this, to a point where the chat bot says, oh, you want me to do this, I'll take these steps. In order for it to do that, we need to give it access to systems. Inside of Gumloop, there are presently over 200 connectors. Think of connectors as the tools or systems you use: Slack, Airtable, email, Google Sheets, Drive, calendars, docs, etc. So whatever you typically use to prep for a meeting, you're going to then put that connecting system inside of your agent. If I'm prepping for a meeting, I want my agent to use my calendar. I also told my agent, hey, if I'm having a follow-up, I'd like you to tell me if there are any action items or new items to discuss, which means my agent should probably have access to email. Also, if I'm creating an agenda, I probably give it access to Google Docs. Now, I'm clicking through and adding these, but if you're doing it for the first time, your agent is going to ask you for permission to access a system. When I'm teaching this class live with students, people typically ask, hey, Jacqueline, I'm not so comfortable with my agent having access to my primary email. What's a workaround? In that case, I would encourage you to create an email account specifically for your agent. And any information that you would want that agent to have access to, you would forward an email to that inbox specific to your agent, okay? And this is fairly common, that people will give the agent a limited scope of, hey, this is the inbox that you can read, emails that are just for your eyes, agent. Keep your eyes off my other stuff, like my Netflix subscription, banking details, medical records, etc. Does that make sense? Okay, I would also connect Firecrawl, which is like a turbocharge for Google for searching the web for agents. And I create Connect Exa, EXA. This is like a search engine created for AI agents specifically? Another question I typically get with connectors is, hey, when I'm using my large language model or I'm using connectors, is it pulling from my tokens on those accounts? So let me back up. I'm going to come back to connectors in just a second. With agent preferences, if you have a paid ChatGPT account with OpenAI or a paid Claude account on Anthropic, if you have a paid account with them, you can bring your tokens over and use your own tokens inside of Gumloop. Okay, there's a way to do that. However, that's an enterprise level. You don't need to do that. You pay for a membership on Gumloop monthly and they give you credits. So what happens? Every time I run my agent based on the pattern that I'm using, it will calculate how many credits to use, similar to where the large language models calculate tokens. If you're unfamiliar with that, don't worry, I got you covered. Check the link in the description. As a non technical person, anytime I get stuck, I go to my good old friend Google, I research the terms. I'm helping you out with some of the things by putting some in the chat. But if any term is unfamiliar to you, open up your favorite search engine or your favorite agentic model and ask it to explain that term to you. All right. So just want to emphasize that you are not using your own credits when you're selecting the model that you use. Gumloop's giving you a set of credits each month to use those models. It also tells you how many tokens your agent is using once you give it work, but we're not there yet. All right, the next thing I want to go back to connectors. I've turned on Google Calendar, Gmail, Docs, Firecrawl, and Exa. If I'm prepping for a meeting, I want agent to go out and pull the information like a person's bio or recent press releases for the company. If there's an action item, I want my agent to be smart and help me formulate a draft. So I'm putting these connectors in place. This allows the agent to have access to the systems to do a bit of the work. The next thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to save for part 2 of the video, we're going to talk about skills, knowledge sources, and abilities. But for now, hit the save button. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. I'm going to be in the chat following along. I'm Jacqueline Twilley. I'm a non-technical person. I teach folks how to build AI agents in 1 hour every week. If you'd like to come to a live build session with me, check the link in the description for the calendar and sign up. If you can send an email, you can build your first AI agent. I'll catch you in the next video.